ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणं। परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचरणेश्वरं। हरे कृष्णा. So today we are discussing Bhagavad Gita. So, last session we discussed about the events leading to Bhagavad Gita, leading to the war actually. I think last session, what is the main topic of last session? Anybody remembers?
Yes, Prabhu. First was the tug of war.
Yes.
And second was the deciding of the who is the commander of the army.
Okay, correct.
And also Vidura left the palace. That topic we discussed.
Amazing. You remember a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, Prabhu.
So we discussed about Krishna and Kunti approaching Karna and convincing him to join the Pandava side, but he did not agree. So last session was chapter 14, session 14. It's not coming. Okay, yeah. So it was session 14, preparations for the war, and the main topics discussed were Kunti meets Karna, Krishna tries to convince Karna. So we saw in detail, we saw the drama also. And then, but still Karna was attached to Duryodhana because of his friendship, and Duryodhana was not, Karna was not willing to leave Duryodhana. And then he sided the Kauravas. So then Vidura was insulted by Duryodhana, and Vidura became very upset, and he felt that there is no hope for the Kauravas to win. So he left them and went to forest, went to different holy places, and choosing the commanders. So, and when the war was inevitable at the time, both the sides, they started choosing their commanders. So on the side of Kauravas, they chose Bhishma as the commander-in-chief, and the whole army was under him. And on the side of Pandavas, they asked Krishna, whom do you want to be the commander? So at that time, Krishna said Drishtadyumna, and everybody agreed. There is no arguments. But on the side of Kauravas, there is argument. Karna said Bhishma is commander, then I will not fight. Okay, so that they had ego tussles. But here on Pandava side, everybody accepted wholeheartedly. So then now the commanders are chosen on both the sides. 7 Akshvani on the side of Pandavas and 11 Akshvani on the side of Kauravas. They are both assembled together, and now the war is going to begin. And at this critical junction comes a problem. Okay, so let me go to that problem. I'm opening Bhagavad Gita here, so selected verses I'll choose whenever required. So both the parties come to Kurukshetra and they take their positions, and tomorrow the war is about to begin. Okay, so when the war is, so then in the morning time, everybody does their prayers, they chant their mantras, and they come to the battlefield. And even in the past, they used to do puja and worship the Lord and then start their duties. Even the war also was done like that. So at sunrise, everybody assembled, and on one side Kauravas are standing, on the other side Pandavas are standing. Now the Pandavas, at that time, I'll open this shloka from Bhagavad Gita. This is a scene where our Dhritarashtra is asking a question. Because Dhritarashtra was blind, Dhritarashtra could not participate in the war. So Dhritarashtra is sitting in Hastinapura, and is asking questions to Sanjaya, his assistant, personal secretary. So Dhritarashtra says, Dhritarashtra uvacha dharmakshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsavah mamakah pandavaschaiva kimakurvata Sanjaya. Dhritarashtra said, "Oh Sanjaya, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, desiring to fight, what did they do?" So there's a question being asked. So this is the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. Actually, Bhagavad Gita begins not with Krishna Vacha, Bhagavan Vacha, but it begins with Dhritarashtra Vacha. So he is the person speaking here. Only one shloka Dhritarashtra speaks in entire Bhagavad Gita. And this one shloka is also very important. Why? Because this indicates the mentality of Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra is thinking, these are my sons and these are my enemies' sons, Pandu's sons. So my sons and Pandu's sons, when they assembled in Kurukshetra, what did they do? So Kurukshetra is described here as Dharmakshetra. Dharmakshetre, Kurukshetre. Why it's called Dharmakshetra? Because in that place, lot of yajnas and pujas were done. So it was a very pious place. And in a pious place, pious people have advantage. So Dhritarashtra is fearful. My sons, they have done so much of impious activities, sinful activities, and now they're fighting in Kurukshetra. Is there a chance to win? Maybe they will win, but it is a little difficult. Like that he was thinking. And it also indicates minus and apne or paraya, mine and others. That mentality. My sons are my sons. Pandu's sons are not my sons. They are not. They are to be hated. They are to be killed. Like that he asks. So this is the question. So then Sanjay starts replying. He tells what is happening in the scene of Kurukshetra. I'll read only few verses from each chapter, very important verses, and then we'll take some lessons out of it. And in this today's session, what we'll do, we'll discuss the whole flow of Bhagavad Gita, important points from each chapter, and then and tell the main conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. So Sanjaya is telling to this Dhritarashtra, दृष्ट्वा तु पाण्डवानीकं व्यूढं दुर्योधनस्तदा आचार्याम् उपसंगम्य राजा वचनमब्रवीत्. So after seeing the army of the Pandavas arranged so nicely, he comes to Dronacharya and says, what does he say? He says, Pashyetan Pandu Putranam Acharya Mahatim Chamum Vyudam Durpad Putrena Tavashishena Dhimata. Your disciple Drushtadumna, he has arranged so wonderfully this entire army. Because of you, he has become so powerful. Why did you teach him? Like that, he's taunting Dronacharya. Actually, he is not very respectful to the seniors. One of the qualities of Duryodhana is he is not respectful to the elders. So at that time, Dronacharya tolerates him actually. And then Duryodhana tries to tell the strength of the Pandavas, strength of the Kauravas, and he says that no, our strength is immeasurable because of Bhishma. Balam Bhishma Abhirakshitam, because of Bhishma's presence in our side, our strength is immeasurable. He says, Aparyaptam Tadasmakam Balam Bhishma Abhirakshatam. He says, Aparyaptam is unlimited power we have. And the Pandavas, because Bhishma is not on their side, Bhima is there. So because of Bhima, he is not very powerful. So his strength is limited, he says, Paryaptam. So Bhishma is hearing all this and he says, hey, what this foolish fellow is talking, let me stop his mouth. So he blows the conch. And the names of the conch, and Bhishma blows the conch and there is huge tumultuous sound being made by beating of the drums and the trumpets, and all the Kauravas also blow their conches. So it was very, very tumultuous. Nabascha Prithvim Chaiva Tumulobhyanu Naden. The sound was reaching the skies. That much sound was made. But after this, Krishna and all the Pandavas blow their conch. What is the name of Krishna's conch?
Panchajaryam.
Yeah, correct. Panchajanyam, Hrishikesho, Devadattam, Dhananjaya. So all the names are mentioned. They all blow their conches, and hearing the conch sound, uh, the Kaurava's heart becomes terrified. It starts trembling. Such a huge sound was made, and this also indicates a victory for the Pandavas. So many signs of victory come now. One of the signs of victory was this conch blowing. Another is Kapidhwaja. Uh, Hanuman is sitting on the top of Arjuna's Ratha. And then there is another sign of victory, which is the Krishna's presence. Krishna is present on the side of Pandavas. Another sign of victory is the Ratha given by Agni, which Arjuna was uh, riding on. So that is a celestial Ratha. So that is also another sign of victory. So like this, many signs of victory were there, which indicated that Kauravas are going to lose and Pandavas are going to win the battle. So after this happens, Arjuna gets a curiosity. Arjuna feels, I should see very closely who are all there on the enemy side. So he tells Krishna to take the Rath in between the two sides. So Krishna's Rath comes in between the two armies, like this. Krishna is driving, Arjuna is sitting, and in between the two armies, Ratha is standing. Pratham sthape me achyuta, which also indicates that Krishna is Bhakta Vatsala. He loves his devotee and he is ready to do anything for his devotee. So, and there Arjuna, he sees all his relatives, especially Bhishma, Drona, right? Acharya, Matulan, Bhratran, Putran, Pautrans, Sakhims Tata, his friends and his brothers, his nephews, and then his elders and grandfathers, everybody he sees. Seeing this, he becomes a little weak in the heart. He says, hey, I should fight with them. How can I fight with them? They're my elders. Then he gives 5 reasons why he'll not fight. He says, how can I kill and so many people and cause violence? Sort of compassion, he says, I'll not kill. Then he says, if I kill all these people, then what will I enjoy? With whom I'll enjoy? He gives the second reason. Because if nobody is there to, with whom, like if you have a party and you are alone, can you enjoy? No? If you have a party, then there should be people. Then you can enjoy. So then he says, sins will come to me. I'll get sinful reactions. So that's why I'll not fight, because killing is sinful. You know? So then he says, fourth reason is, he says, the dynasties, the family dynasties will be destroyed. So he gives these 4 reasons. And the fifth reason, he says, I'm not able to decide. So because I'm not able to decide, I'm confused. So then he says the next shloka in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which becomes a turning point in the life of Arjuna, which is 2.7. It's a turning point in the Bhagavad Gita actually. Till now, Arjuna was telling, I'll not fight, but he was not surrendering to Krishna. And at this point, Arjuna surrenders to Krishna. Karpanya doshopahata svabhava prichhami tvam dharma sammudha cheta yashreyasya nishchitam bruhi tanme shishyaste ham shadi mam tvam prapannam. So he surrenders. Krishna, till now I was thinking you to be a friend, but now I understand. By dealing with you as a friend, I cannot achieve any success. So now I become your disciple. Please instruct me. And Krishna was also keeping quiet. He was not instructing Arjuna. He was just listening to Arjuna and smiling. So, but when Arjuna surrendered, Krishna took the role of a teacher. If one thinks that I am a friend of my teacher, we can learn from the teacher. But if you are very respectful to the teacher and you obey his instructions, you surrender to him, then you can learn. Similarly, here Arjuna is teaching that if you want to learn from the teacher, then you have to surrender to him. You should have respect for the teacher. Then only you can learn. So even the teacher will also be able to instruct you to the degree you are surrendered. So after surrendering, the next few shlokas, yeah. Evam muktva hrishikesham gudakesha parantava nayotsaiti govindam uktva tusnim bhavuvaha. So Arjuna keeps quiet. And 10th verse. Tamuvacha Rishikesha Prahasanyo Bharata. He was smiling, Krishna was smiling, which indicates that he was waiting for this time when Arjuna will surrender. So at that time, Krishna starts speaking. So the first topic of Bhagavad Gita, which is Jiva, comes here. It, Krishna talks about soul. So there are 5 topics in Bhagavad Gita. The 5 topics: Jiva, Ishvara, Prakriti, Kala, and Karma. 5 topics. So these are the most important topics of Gita. So these 5 topics Krishna is covering here. So first topic he covers is Jiva. Who are you? Who am I? That is the topic. It's very vital because why Arjuna is getting confused and he is telling I will not fight, because he is thinking that I am this body and people connected to this body are mine. So he is having compassion on a bodily platform. He is not on a spiritual platform. So Krishna wants Arjuna to come on the spiritual platform. So he is speaking this. So he tells this verse: Ashochananva shochastvam pragyavadamsha bhashase gatasu nagatasumscha nanu shochanti panditaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for living nor the dead, nor for the dead. So don't lament the loss of this body, Arjuna, because body is anyways going to die. Then he says that body keeps changing, but soul is eternal. Soul never changes. Then he says that body dies. Jatasi dhruva mrityum dhrum janma mritisya. So those who are dead, they will be born again. Those who are born, they will die. So this is going on happening. So don't take this very seriously. Try to elevate your soul. Soul never dies, he says. So for 20 shlokas, Krishna tells this Atma Jnana. And after telling this Atma Jnana, Arjuna is thinking, but if I'm not on this spiritual platform, what should I do? So then Krishna suggests a path, which is path of karma, Sakama Karma Yoga. Whatever you're doing, do it for Krishna, he says. Do your duties. Don't give up your duties. The doing of your duties will lead you to gradually to perfection. So then he goes on telling about you should fight. Fight for the sake of fighting, he says. And even he says that if you fight in a religious war, you'll go to heaven. You'll not suffer. You'll go to heaven. You'll enjoy life there. So fighting is good for a Kshatriya. You fight. It's your duty to fight. So act on the platform of duty. So that lesson Krishna says to Arjuna. So that's Sakama Karma Yoga. But then it is sinful, Arjuna is thinking. So it causes sin. It's killing. So then Krishna further suggests another path. So he was suggesting Karma Kanda path to Arjuna. Then he suggests another path, which is path of Nishkama Karma, where you do work without any desire from that work, without any desires for the fruits of that work. So that's called Nishkama Karma Yoga. So that section starts now, where he says some of the very famous verses, which is one of the famous verses, no, Karmanyavadhikarasti ma phaleshu kadachana. Ma karma phala heturvur mate sangostu akarmani. So that is the shloka he says. So he's Krishna. What Krishna is telling there is, just do your duty, but don't be attached to the fruits of that work. Do your duty as an offering to Krishna. So that is a lesson Krishna teaches Arjuna. So then by doing this Buddhi Yoga duty in the your work as an offering to Krishna, slowly you will elevate and you will come to the stage of complete detachment. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchate. You will come to the stage of steady yoga where you will not be disturbed by success or failure. You will be fixed in one pointed attention on the Supreme Lord. That stage will come. So that's why work for this, Arjuna, work for this stage, he says. So then, after this, Arjuna has a question. You told me about that you will come to the stage of perfection and steadiness. What are the symptoms of a person who has attained steadiness? How can we identify him? How does he walk? How does he talk? How does he sit? What does he do? So these are the questions. Sthita pragnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava sthita kim prabhasheta kim asita kim rajeta kim. So after hearing this question, Krishna becomes very happy. He says, yes, I will tell you the symptoms of a sthita prajna. Right? He is never disturbed by sense gratification. He is never disturbed by sense objects. He is steady. Even in sukha dukkha, he is steady. Uh, and he says that his senses are fully controlled. And he never indulges in sense gratification. And because he's not doing sense gratification, he's peaceful. So these are some of the things Krishna tells to Arjuna. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parthamanogadan atmanyevatmana tushta. He is happy in his soul. That's what he says. But there are some yogis who are striving for perfection, but because their mind is impure, they cannot be steady. Okay, they fall down. He tells about that them also. Because although they might have given up sense objects, but they are thinking about the sense objects. Because they are thinking, dhyata vishan pumsaha, that thought will lead to attachment and then lust and then anger and then slowly they'll get bewildered and then fall. So that path of falling down is also explained by Krishna in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. But Krishna also says that by practice, uh, continuous practice of engaging the senses in Krishna's service and withdrawing the senses from matter and putting them in service of Krishna, one can master this art and come to the stage of samadhi. So the last few shlokas of second chapter tell about how to come to that stage of steadiness. And Krishna says here in the 70th verse, Apuryamanam achala pratishtham samudramapa pravishanti yadvat tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve sashanti mapnoti na kama kami. Just like in the ocean, so many rivers are entering, but the ocean level never goes up. Ocean is not disturbed by so much water entering because the ocean is huge. Similarly, a devotee, a pure devotee, so many thoughts may enter his consciousness, but he is not disturbed by them. He remains steady, just like an ocean. Achala pratishtham. Achala, he is not shaken, he is steady. Tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve sashanti mapnoti na kama kama. He is very steady. Vihaya kaman yah sarvan puman sharati nisprihaha nirmamo nirahankara sashantim madhigachati. So he will ultimately attain full peace and satisfaction. So in second chapter Gita, Krishna takes a person from the platform of soul, from body to the platform of soul, and from platform of soul to the platform of doing service to Krishna. It can be Sakama Karma Yoga, Nishkama Karma Yoga, and ultimately to come to the stage of Samadhi where one is continuously thinking about Krishna. So that's why second chapter of Gita is called as Contents of Gita Summarized. Entire Gita is told in second chapter. So those who are intelligent, they can just read second chapter and will be able to understand the gist of it. But some people may have doubts. So Arjuna, taking the role of a conditioned soul, asks questions, further questions. And that question becomes the cause for third chapter and up to the end. So depending on the questions asked by Arjuna, the direction of the discussion goes. Okay. So now let's go into third chapter. Okay. So just to check, is my voice clear?
Yes, Prabhuji, it is clear.
Okay, thank you. So otherwise I'll one way keep talking and then the voice may not reach others. Just to cross check. So second chapter ends with this, and third chapter Arjuna asks a question. Krishna, I have a question. So what is the question? He says, I got confused. At one place you said, keep the sinful activities at a distance. Don't do sinful activities. And another side you are telling you should fight. How is this, Krishna? Both contradictory things you are telling. I'm not able to understand. Can you please explain it further? So this he actually in the previous chapter, second chapter, two shlokas, contradictory shlokas were spoken. So that becomes the cause of this question actually. So then Arjuna, Krishna, hearing the question of Arjuna, he goes on to explain further the same thing which I explained before in the third chapter. Second chapter, he continues explaining further in third chapter. So Krishna says actually there are two types of people. some people try to attain perfection by path of karma, and there are some other people who try to attain perfection by path of jnana. Hmm. So this third chapter. लोकेऽस्मिन् द्विविधा निष्ठा पुरा प्रोक्ता मया नघ ज्ञानयोगेन सांख्यानां कर्मयोगेन योगिनाम्. Oh, sinless Arjuna, I have already explained that there are two classes of men who try to realize the self. Some are inclined to understand it by empirical philosophical speculation, and others by devotional service. Okay, Karma Yoga means bhakti, proper translated as bhakti. But another is philosophical speculation, which is actually difficult. So, Krishna says that both paths are good, but out of these two paths, Karma Yoga path is better, he says. Because if one prematurely renounces, what will happen? He will not be able to remain steady in his renunciation and he will fall down. Such a person is called as Mithyachari. Karmendriyani samyamya yaste manasa smaran indriyarthan vimodhatma mityachara sa uchyate. So a person who externally behaves like a sage, but internally he is thinking about enjoying senses, he is called as Mithyachari, a dongi. So don't become a dongi. So better engage in Krishna service, he says. Better engage your senses in service of the Lord. That's what Krishna is suggesting him. So then he gives a very practical process. Yajnarthat karmanonyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. If you work for any selfish desire, to fulfill selfish desires, you will be bound by karma. But if you work for pleasure of Krishna, pleasure of my pleasure, then you will be freed from karma. A simple basic rule Krishna tells here. Because nobody can avoid doing activities. Because to live in this world, you have to do certain activities. So better do it for the Supreme Lord, Krishna is suggesting. So then he says, so shloka number 10 onwards to shloka number 16. So he tells about how people in this world can be happy. Actually, he tells about the chakra of rain. And for living happily, we need food. How do foods grow? Foodstuffs grow, grains grow by the from the land when rain comes. So rain causes grain. So how is rain caused? Rain is caused by clouds. So how the clouds are caused? Because of yajna. Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyadana sambhavaha. Yajnad bhavati parjanyo yajna karma samudbhavaha. So by performance of yajna, rain comes and then grains come. And grains we can eat and be happy. So that sequence is mentioned. So this is a cycle. Like in summer season, rains are not coming. But when we do yajna properly, then rains will automatically come. So then there will be no problem. If there is sufficient water, then there will be sufficient grains. So the problem is nowadays people are polluting the rivers, polluting the skies, and not doing yajna. So that's why there is scarcity of water in this world. So then Krishna says that you are a king, so you should set the standard. Because whatever standard a leader sets, common people will follow. I also set the standard, Krishna says. Because if I don't set the standard, then common people will also not do the regulatory principle. They'll not follow the rules of mankind. They'll do sinful activities. That's why I also follow the rules and regulations. That's what he says. So, third chapter concludes by telling that actually work in the mode of detachment. So that's all. That's the message which Krishna wanted to give. So, but there is one question Arjuna asks here. Krishna is telling that I should work, but generally I see that people are pushed to do sinful activities. Why is it so? अतः केन प्रयुक्तोयम पापम चरिति पुरुष अनिच्छनपि. इच्छा नहीं होते हुए भी पाप कर्म करते हैं. क्यों करते हैं? So at that time, Krishna says, yes, your question is very wonderful. It is because of lust. The lust in the heart forces a person to do sinful activities. And people are covered by different degrees of lust. So try to overcome this lust, Arjuna, by conquering your senses. Start with your senses and then the mind, and try to overcome this, because the lust is residing in Indriyani and Manas and Buddhi. So three places it is staying. So try to remove the lust in these three places. Then how to remove the lust? By fixing the mind and intelligence on Krishna. So then comes the fourth chapter where Krishna tells how to attain knowledge, how to get the knowledge to overcome this lust. So that's transcendental knowledge, the fourth chapter, where Krishna tells a lot about himself. And some of the famous shlokas come here. Krishna says that I am eternal, I never die, ajopi sannavya atma bhutanam ishwaropi san. So this knowledge which I had spoken long, long back to sun god, same knowledge I'm speaking to you now. So this knowledge will help you to overcome this lust, Krishna says. So then he says that this knowledge I keep speaking again and again because it gets lost. And that same knowledge which I had spoken to sun god, I'm telling to you now because you are my friend and my devotee Arjuna. So please listen to this, he says. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyutthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamiham. So Krishna says that every yuga I come to establish this dharma. And now I'm choosing you to establish this dharma, he says. So by understanding the knowledge about me, you will not take birth again. Janma karma chame divyam yevam yovetti tatvataha tekvadeham punarjanma naiti mameti sorjana. So try to understand the activities, my activities, he says. So then he says that actually I am the creator of everything and all parts lead to me. And I make a system by which people can come to me. And that's called Varnashrama Dharma. 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas. That is created by me so that people can gradually progress towards me. So try to understand this, he says. And then he gives a lot of summary about platform of Jnana, how people can cultivate Jnana. So people can cultivate Jnana by doing sacrifice, by doing Yajna. And different people do different types of Yajna. Grahasthas do Yajna in a different way. Brahmacharis do Yajna by hearing Krishna Katha. Some people do Jnana Yajna, Dravya Yajna, Tapo Yajna. So different kinds of Yajnas are mentioned. But in doing any kind of Yajna ultimately leads to development of knowledge. And when that knowledge matures, so that with that knowledge one should do one's activities. But Krishna also says another way. If you want to develop knowledge, one way is to do yajnas and do sacrifices for a long time. But there's another shortcut, which is go and surrender to Guru. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshina. Surrender to a Guru and Guru will teach you. So that's why approach a bona fide personality, he says. So in this way you will develop jnana and then you will attain yoga sanyasta karmanam jnana sanchinna samshayam atmavantam na karmani nibadhanti dhananjaya. So when you develop this knowledge, you will not be entangled with karma. You will become free from karma, he says. So by doing yajna, knowledge develops and knowledge destroys our karmic reactions. So with that knowledge, when you act, that becomes karma yoga, action in Krishna consciousness, which is the 5th chapter. So in 5th chapter, Arjuna wanted more clarity. So he says, Krishna, are telling sannyasam, karmanam, both kinds of process. Please tell me what is good for me. One thing, don't tell two things. So then Krishna very definitely says, Arjuna, actually both paths are good, but for you and for most of the people, karma yoga path is good because path of renunciation can be done only by those who are pure in the mind. Because people have impurities in the mind, it's difficult for them to renounce. So better you follow the path of karma yoga, which involves doing activities with the senses for pleasing the Lord. So that is the 5th chapter. So Krishna tells that perform your activities as in service to me. And one of the famous shlokas which comes here is Brahmanyadaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti. And lipyate nasapapena padmapatram mivambasa. So when you do all the activities in knowledge of me as a service to me, you will be free from karma just like a lotus in a muddy pond. So the water will not touch the lotus leaf. Similarly, in this material world, although you're acting, but because those activities are for Krishna, you will not get karma, he says. So then he goes on to explain that actually nobody is the doer, I am the actual doer. Jiva just desires, God sanctions, and the Prakriti acts. So Jiva just desires, so desire to attain me, Krishna suggests to Arjuna. And then later part of the fifth chapter, he goes on to explain the vision of a person who has developed uh, perfection, who has attained the perfect stage. What is his vision? Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmani Gavi Hastini Shuni Chaiva Svapake Cha Pandita Samadarshinaha. So a person who has attained perfection in this yoga, karma yoga, he sees everybody equally. He doesn't discriminate between a dog, an elephant, and a cow and a dog eater. He sees everybody same. So that's the vision of a pure devotee. So then he goes on to explain some of the symptoms of pure devotee and then comes to the peace formula. Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim rachati. Understand, Arjuna, that I am the enjoyer of everything. Bhoktaram yajna tapasam, of all the yajnas and tapasya, I am the enjoyer. Sarvaloka maheshwaram, everything is being controlled by me. Suhridam, I am the best friend of everyone. Gyatva mam shantim rachati. So you will attain peace by understanding this. So thus ends the fifth chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So in sixth chapter is entitled Dhyana Yoga. So in the Krishna continues speaking. So there is no question by Arjuna as such. Krishna goes on explaining that another path. So till now I spoke about the path of karma yoga. But there is another path also, which is called the path of Ashtanga Yoga. And some people also practice that path of Ashtanga Yoga, he says. So generally, by after doing karma, one comes to the stage of purity, then he can practice the stage of yoga, dhyana. So it is about dhyana yoga here. So the path of dhyana yoga, there's two stages. One is yoga ruruksha and yoga ruda. In yoga ruruksha, one follows a lot of regulative principles of yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. But a yoga ruda, who is at the elevated stage, he completely gives up work. Yoga ruruksha continues doing work, but yoga rudha completely gives up work and just meditates on the Lord. So then he goes on to tell the symptoms of a person who has controlled his mind and how does he act. So the person who has controlled his mind is like a lamp in a windless place. Then when you light a candle, the wind is blowing, then the candle shakes. Viewers. But a person who has controlled his mind is very steady. No matter how much our desires or disturbances come, he is not shaking. He is steadily burning. Means his mind is steadily fixed on Krishna. So this is advanced stage of Krishna consciousness, where the mind is so much fixed on Krishna. So then Krishna goes on to explain in detail that one should go to a forest, sit in a secluded place, and then do pranayam, sit in a good asana, do pranayama, then focus on the tip of the nose, and then meditate on the Lord. Like that, he gives a very difficult process. And after hearing which, Arjuna asks, Krishna, the process which you said right now, I feel is very difficult because chanchalam hi manah Krishna pramati balavadridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayu sudushkaram. I feel that it's difficult to control the mind. It's easy to control the wind, but not the mind. I can stop a cyclone, but not this mind, he says, because mind is more powerful than a cyclone. So then Krishna gives a solution. He says, yeah, it is possible, but you should do practice. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihate. By practice and detachment, you can attain steadiness. So then Arjuna further asks another question. He says, Krishna, if somebody is practicing yoga and he goes to some height, he goes to this much level of advancement, but if he doesn't attain perfection, he falls down, what will happen? Very interesting question. And Krishna says, don't worry. Still he'll be benefited because whatever yoga he has done, it will never be lost because it is Neha Vikramana Shosti. There's no diminution. It goes into an eternal bank account. So a person who has not attained perfection but fell down, he will get a chance to go to heavens, and there he will enjoy. And then he will come down and be born in a Suchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Prashto Vijayate. He'll be born in a rich family or a Brahmana family, and then he will get a chance to continue his bhakti. But if somebody had reached advanced stage, then he falls, then he dies, then he will directly be born in a devotee family. Okay, and when he is born in a devotee family, he will naturally get attracted. Pura abhyasena teneva hirete avashopisha. So because of his past devotional activities, he will immediately get attracted to the devotional activities. He will start chanting, and then he will continue his devotional activities and attain perfection. So there is no loss, Arjuna. This wonderful process. And then finally he says, best yogi is one who always thinks about me in the heart. Yoginam api sarvesham madgatenantaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yuktatamamataha. So this is a verse. Yoginam api sarvesham. So among all the yogis, who is best? Madgatenantaratma, who is always thinking about me in the heart. It means a Krishna devotee is the best yogi. Shraddhavan bhajate, with faith they worship him. Same yuktatamo marha. Such a person is united with me and is the best, he says. So this ends the first 6 chapters of Gita, where mainly the topic of karma is discussed. So if you Srila Vishwanath Thakur gives analogy saying that the Bhagavad Gita is like a box, jewel box. So jewel box, there is lower part and the upper part, and middle there is a jewel. So lower part is compared to first 6 chapters, and upper 6 chapters, the top part is the upper 6 chapters, later 6 chapters, chapter 13 to 18. So first 6 and the last 6 chapters, and middle there is a jewel, which is compared to the middle 6 chapters. It is the real treasure where the topic of bhakti is mentioned. So now start the topic of bhakti yoga, where Krishna, out of affection, is continuing to speak to Arjuna, saying that, Arjuna, I'm going to tell you something very interesting. He says, first know about me. Who am I? So the 7th chapter is called as the knowledge of the absolute. Krishna gives a lot of knowledge about himself. So it begins by telling, Maya sakta manapartha yogam yunjan madashreya asamshayam samagramam yatha jnaseti tachruno. Arjuna, just hear. See, hearing is very important. Krishna is telling, just hear, don't have any question, just hear from me. I'm going to tell you asamshayam samagram mam. Everything I'm going to tell you now. Please listen, he says. So actually Prabhupada spoke a lot, many lectures on this shloka actually. One of the famous shlokas quoted by Prabhupada again and again. Where Krishna is telling that everything I'll tell you. Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshyami asheshataha. Yajnatva neha bhuyanat jnatavyam avashishyate. I'm going to tell you both knowledge of material world and spiritual world, after knowing which nothing else remains to be known. So this shloka proves that Bhagavad Gita is the complete book, best book. Everything is there in Gita. We don't have to go to other books. There's such a wonderful book. Complete knowledge. And what is this Jnanam and Vijnanam? So that is explained further, where Krishna tells there is material energy of mind, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, ego. These 8 elements constitute material energy. But there is another energy of mind which is called spiritual energy. Aparayam vitastanyam prakritim vidyame param jiva bhutam mahavaho yedam dharate. The jiva, atma, is the spiritual power, and the spirit acts on matter. So both are energies of Krishna. So this knowledge of matter and spirit is given by Krishna here. And then Krishna says that nobody is superior to me. I am the topmost. Mattaha partram nanyat kinti jasti dhananjaya. Everything rests on me just like pearls are resting on the string. I am the supreme. There is nobody superior to me, he says. So this is one shloka where Krishna declares himself to be the topmost, supreme. So nobody has declared like this. Krishna only has declared. So it shows that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. And nobody can dare to declare like this. Only Supreme Lord can make this bold statement. So then Krishna says, so you can see me everywhere. Just like you can, when you taste water, you think that I am the taste of water. When you see the sun and moon, you see that they are my eyes. The light of the sun and moon comes from me, right? And the smell of the earth is me. He says, no. And then many things he says, no, I am the strength of the strong, the power in man, ability in man, and then I am the lust which is against, not against the religious principles. All that he says. So you can see me everywhere in this way. So try to understand that I am the supreme, Krishna says. So then one may ask the question, if Krishna is supreme, why is not soul getting attracted to Krishna and is surrendering to him? Why are they bewildered and doing materialistic activities? And Krishna says, it's because of my Maya. So the jivas who have desire to enjoy separately from me, they are affected by Maya. Tribhir gunamair bhavair evi sarvam idam jagat mohitam na bijanati mamebhya param avyayam. And because of my Maya Shakti, Devi Hesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratya Mamevi Prapadyanti Maya Medam Tarantite. Because they are not surrendered to me, they are in Maya. But if they surrender to me, they become free from Maya. So that point is told here. But there are 4 categories of people who surrender to me and 4 categories don't surrender to me. Right? So there are foolish people who don't surrender to me, he says. So out of these 4 people who surrender to him, Krishna says Jnani is the best because he is surrendering in knowledge. So then somebody may ask question, Krishna, they know that you are supreme, but why still they worship demigods? So then Krishna tells that, yeah, some people worship demigods because I only created the system. So that their desires can be fulfilled. They don't have faith in me, but at least they have faith in them. So I have created the system by which they can worship the demigods. But worship of demigods is avidhi purvakam. It is indirect worship. But worship of mine is direct worship. And the results given by demigods are temporary, but my results are eternal. Says. And some people think that my body is Maya. Actually, impersonal is the highest. Such people are foolish. Actually, what you see, my Sham Sundar form, this is the original form. And the light which is coming from the Brahma Jyoti is actually the light which is coming from my body. So he establishes this perfect truth here. And then he concludes the chapter by telling that those who have become freed from sins, they can thoroughly worship me. And then at the end of this chapter, Arjuna asks certain questions. And what is Adidaiva, Kim Tad Brahma, Kim Adhyatma, Kim Karma, Purushottama, Adibhutam, Katam Kotra, Adidaivam, Achyuta, Adiyajna. So, and what should one remember at the time of death? So these are the questions which he is asking. And in the 8th chapter, Krishna answers all these questions. What is Brahman? Atma is Brahman and Krishna is Parabrahman. And what is Adhyatma? The nature of the soul is Adhyatma. What is karma? The activities of the conditioned soul is called karma. What is Adibhuta? The material nature which you see, made of material elements, that is Adibhuta. What is Adidaiva? The Virata Purusha form, the universe is imagined to be the body of the Lord, that is called Adidaiva. And Adiyajna is Paramatma in the heart. And what should one remember at the time of death? One should remember me. Antakalecha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram viha prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshaya. So by remembering Krishna, you will go back to Krishna. If you remember something else, you will go to that destination. Then Krishna goes on to explain that at what time or which path one takes after death, you will go to what destination. So he tells the path of darkness and he tells the path of light. So these 2 paths are there. So those who take the path of darkness, they may go to Swarga and up to moon planet and they come down again. But those who are taking the path of light, they'll come back to me and they'll never again return again. He says. So, and this he also says very important point here in this chapter that this material world is dukkhalam ashashvatam. This material world is misery because it is created and destroyed, created and destroyed. From Brahma Loka up to Patala Loka, all the planets are created and destroyed. So, but the Vaikuntha planets are never destroyed. Right? Up, there is another world, Parastasmatu Bhavanya Vyakta Avyakta Sanatana. Yasa Sarveshu Bhuteshu Nasyatsu Navinasyati. Even if this world is destroyed, that world is never destroyed. So we should go to that planet. Krishna is hinting here. So he invites everybody to go to spiritual world. So then comes the 9th chapter, which is the most confidential knowledge. So there is no question asked by Arjuna. Krishna continues speaking. He says, now I'm going to tell you the best knowledge. Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam, Pavitram Idam Uttamam, Pratyaksha Vagamam Dharmyam Susukam Kartamayam. That knowledge, which is the best of all knowledge, and understanding this knowledge, you will attain all perfection. And that is the knowledge of bhakti, devotional service, devotion to Krishna. Hare Krishna, I think the network got disconnected.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. What is the last point I spoke? I think I was speaking about this 9th chapter of Gita.
Yes, Prabhu, 9th chapter. Most confidential knowledge.
Yeah. So Krishna is everywhere, and but Krishna is detached from this material world. That's what I was speaking. But then Krishna goes on to explain that there is another. There are different types of worshippers. There are some people who worship my personal form, but there are some people who worship the devatas, and there are some people who are actually worshipping the impersonal form. So he says, Ekatvena Pratatvena Bahuda Vishwatu Mukham. Ekatvena means those who want to become one with me. They are Ekatvena. And there are Pratatvena, mean those who worship anything and everything. They worship the demigods, they worship the trees and the mountains. They worship anything and everything. So they are Pratatvena. So they worship demigods. And Vishwatomukha means they worship all the elements of this world also. So Pratatvena is actually worshipping the nature as the Lord. So these three categories of people are mentioned. But among all of them, the best is a person who worships Krishna as the Supreme Lord. Pitahamasya jagato matha dhata pitamaha yam pavitram omkaram ruksa samevacha. So Krishna is all pervading. So an intelligent person sees Krishna everywhere and worships Krishna only. So that's what he says. And those who worship demigods, they are worshipping indirectly. That also he says. And he also says that those who are worshipping me with love, I take care of them. Ananya chintayanto mam ye jana pariyupasate tesham nityabhyuktanam yogakshema vahamyam. He says. So, and then he finally comes to the stage of bhakti where he says that you just offer a leaf, a fruit, a flower, I'm happy. A water, I'm very happy. You don't have to do any elaborate worship. Just worship me with these things, with love. And always think of me. Man mana bhav mad bhakto madhyajimam namaskuru mame vishesi satyam te pratijane priyosimi. Mame vishesi yuktayavam atmanam matparayana. So two places this shloka comes, 9th chapter and 18th chapter. 2 times he repeats. So this is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. So the 9th chapter concludes by telling, become my devotee and always think of me. It's a very simple solution Krishna gives. And then Arjuna was interested to know more. Krishna, you told that I can see you everywhere. Can you tell more glories about yourself? So in the 10th chapter, based on Arjuna's inquiry, Krishna tells about his opulences. Actually, before that, Arjuna accepts Krishna as the Supreme Lord. He says, you are the Supreme Lord. Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavan. Purusham, Shashvatam, Divyam, Adi Devam, Vajam Vyum. You are the Supreme Most. So I surrender to you. Not only I am declaring, but all the sages They are all declaring. Rishis like Narada, Sita, Devala, Vyasa, all are declaring that you are supreme. I want to hear more about your opulences. Can you please tell me more? So, hearing this, Krishna goes on speaking a list of items where one can see Krishna. Like he says, among Adityas I am Vishnu, among Maruts I am Marichi, among demigods I am Indra, among Rudras I am Shankara. Like this, he tells everything. Among cows I am Surabhi, among aquatics I am Varuna, among demons I am Prahlada. So, big list of opulences, vibhutis of the Lord. Krishna is speaking here. And at the end, he says, how much can I tell? List is unlimited. Just be happy with hearing this. And wherever in this world you see something extraordinary, consider that it is my power. It is my opulence. So like that, Krishna ends 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And then 11th chapter, Arjuna wanted to see what Krishna just spoke about. Arjuna says, I want to see these opulences which you just spoke to me. And Krishna says, see this, Arjuna, my universal form. So Krishna shows the universal form. One more reason is that Arjuna wanted to prove that Krishna is Supreme Lord. People should not misunderstand in the future. So if somebody claims to be God, then they should show the universal forms. So as a challenge, Arjuna requests Krishna to show this. And Krishna shows hands and legs everywhere, heads everywhere, kirita, kundala everywhere. He sees and effulgent like thousands of suns. It's an amazing form which he sees. And he offers namaskar like this in great reverence. After offering namaskaras, and suddenly Krishna, the universal form changes into Kalarupa, where he's seeing that Arjuna is seeing all the soldiers are entering into the mouth of Kalarupa and then getting crushed. And everybody's trying, Bhishma, Drona, all the kings, everybody's trying. So he asks, what is this form, Krishna? Krishna is Kalosmyaham Lokakshekrit Prabruddho Lokan Samahartum Iva Pravrittaha. I'm killing everybody. So that is this form of Kalarupa. So seeing this, Arjuna was scared. And Krishna says, see, I have already won the war. Just shoot your arrows. Become my instrument, he says. Arjuna says, Krishna, enough of this. I'm getting scared. Please come back to your normal form. 400 form and 200 form. Please come back. And Krishna shows, Lord shows the 400 form and 200 form. And Arjuna is so happy seeing this form. He says, then Krishna says, Bhaktya Mama Vijanati. The way you see me now, this form can be understood only by bhakti. So become my devotee. So that's what he says. Mat karma karan, mat paramo, mat bhakta, sangha varjita. Just become my devotee. Accept me as supreme. And then how to practice bhakti yoga is given in next chapter, where specifically 12th chapter, Arjuna asks a question, which is better, worshipping your person form or impersonal form? And Krishna says person form is better. Impersonal worship is very difficult. And Krishna says, for those who worship me with full love and surrender to me, I take them, I deliver them immediately. But if you're not able to think of me always, then just do sadhana bhakti. If you're not able to do sadhana bhakti, at least work for me. If you're not able to work for me, at least work somewhere else and give the results of your work to me. And if you're not able to do that also, just do sacrifice, service. You sacrifice your fruits to somebody else. So he gives different stages. And the last section of 12th chapter, Krishna goes on to explain the qualities which are so dear to him. So the qualities are mentioned very nicely here. That I'll just read some of them. Like non-envious, adveshta, sarvabhutana, maitra, karuna. One is always friendly to everybody. One is non-envious, who is not disturbed in happiness and distress, who is always equipoised, who is dhrada nishchaya, who is not attached to his place of residence, who is attached to Krishna, and who is expert in and he is clean, and he is udasina, gatavyataha. He says all these things, and then he says, ultimately, one who is following my instructions, he is very dear to me. Yetu dharmamritamidam yatoktam paryupasate shraddha mat parama bhaktaste ativa me priya. So one who follows this knowledge of Gita, which is being spoken by me, and who follows Bhakti Yoga, he becomes very, very dear to me, Krishna says. And with this, he concludes the middle part of Bhagavad Gita, which is the 12th chapter. So 12th chapter is the main part. So now the box lower part is there. Now we have kept the jewel. Now we have to close it securely. So you have to have the Jnana portion, which is the last portion. So in the 13th chapter, Arjuna asks questions. What are the questions? What is Prakriti? Or who is Purusha? Prakritim, Purusham, Chaiva, Kshetra, Kshetrajnameva cha. What is Kshetra? Who is Kshetrajna? Jnanam and Gneyam. What is Jnanam and Gneyam? So these 6 questions are asked. Then Krishna explains these 6 questions. That is the 13th chapter. What is Kshetra? This body is Kshetra. Who is Kshetrajna? The soul who knows this body is Kshetrajna. But there is another Kshetrajna who is Paramatma, who knows not only my body but all the bodies. Kshetrajnam chapi mamidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. And who is Purusha? Purusha is the one who is trying to enjoy this body. He is Purusha. And what is Prakriti? The manifested world is Prakriti. And what is Prakriti made up of? It's made up of 24 elements, which are described in this chapter actually. So the 24 elements are very, very precisely described. Mahabhutani Ahankaro, in that verse, it is described. So then what is Jnanam? The process of attaining Supreme is called Jnanam. And Amanitvam, Adhambitvam, Ahimsa, Kshantirajam, Acharyopasanam, Socham, Sthairya, Matra, Vinigraha. There were 20 items listed. These 20 items are the most important items to develop Jnana. And among these 20, the most important is Maicha Ananya Yogena Bhakti Ravyabhicharini. One should have devotion to Krishna. If you have devotion to Krishna, then all other 20 qualities will come. So the process of developing Jnana, understanding Jnana, is these 20 items. So Jnana, what is to be attained? That's Jnana. What is Jnana? One is to understand the soul and another is to understand the super soul. So this Jnanam and Gneyam are also described here. So that is the main point of the 13th chapter. And the 13th chapter also ends by telling somebody who has attained that purity of Jnana, what is his vision? So that vision is also explained here, that he sees everybody equally and he is not affected by the 3 gunas. Okay. So then comes the 14th chapter, the 3 modes of material nature. So Arjuna wants to know about the 3 modes of material nature by which one can get freed from this Prakriti. Because if you are in the jail, you have to understand how to come out of the jail. So we are in the Prakriti, which is made of 3 modes. So Arjuna wants to know the nature of these 3 modes. So Krishna starts explaining the qualities of the 3 modes. Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna. Sattva-guna, the symptom of Sattva-guna is Jnanam and Sukham. He is happy and is in knowledge. And symptoms of Rajoguna is Sangha and Trishna. There is attachment and hankering. And then the symptom of Tamoguna is Nidra, Alasya, Pramada. So he categorizes different things in different modes. And then he explains further the characteristics of the 3 modes in detail. I'll not get into details of this. But ultimately he says that everything which is being done in this world is happening because of the 3 modes. And 3 modes act under my direction. But the soul is not trapped in these 3 modes. But if somebody understands that actually I am not the 3 modes, I am separate from it. Nanyam gunebhya kartaram yada drashtanuparshati gunebhyascha param vyatti madbhavam sodhi gacchati. Okay. So one who understands that actually I am not the doer, but the modes of nature are the doer, he becomes transcendental. He becomes freed from this effect of these 3 modes. So then Arjuna asks the question, how can one become free from the effect of these 3 modes? And Krishna gives the solution. So the most famous shloka in Bhagavad Gita, one of the famous shlokas, it's 14.27. Sorry, 26. Mam chayovya vicharena bhakti yogena sevate Sagunan samatitaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who practices avyabhicharena yogena, a unalloyed devotional service. Saha gunan samatitaitan, he can transcend the gunas. Brahma bhuyaya kalpate, and he comes to the stage of Brahman. And Brahmano hi pratishthaham amritasya vyasya cha shashvatasya sa dharmasya sukasya ikantikasya cha. So that Brahman stage, the impersonal stage, is also the foundation for that impersonal stage is me, he says. And the happiness you get in that impersonal stage is awarded by me, he says. So with this, he ends the 14th chapter and then begins the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna goes on to explain Purushottama Yoga. Okay, see, in these chapters, hardly any questions. Krishna is continuously speaking. Where in the 15th chapter, very important chapter, where Krishna compares the whole world to the upside down tree. Real world is spiritual world, and the upside down tree, the material world, is a reflection. So we have to go from reflection to the spiritual world. That's the goal. And how to go there? By practice of yoga, bhakti yoga. Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kama dvandva vimukta sukadaka sangyer gacchantya muda padamavyam tat. He goes to the spiritual world. So he's an intelligent person. And it describes the spiritual world that there is no sun, no need of sun, no need of moon, no need of electricity. It's self-effulgent, very attractive place. Please go there. The jiva is also part and parcel of Krishna, of mine, Krishna says. But it is suffering in this world because of my forgetfulness and because of having these material senses. And is struggling here and is transferring from one body to another body. So, but an intelligent person can see that he is the soul and is transmigrating, but a foolish person cannot see this. Vimudha nanu pashyanti jnana chakshusha. So then he says that when the jiva is coming in this material world and suffering, Krishna, he gives so much facilities. He gives the sun and moon, he gives rain, he gives grains, he gives water, he gives all the things. And he gives the ability to digest the food also. Aham vaishvanaro bhutva praninam deham achrita pranapana samayukta chamannam chaturvidam. And not only that, Lord comes as Paramatma in the heart, Sarvasya Chaham Hridhi Sannivishta, and he is helping us in this material world. Mattah smritir jnanam apohanam cha vedescha sarve rahameva vedya vedanta krit veda vidya chaham. So the goal of entire Vedas is to understand me. So then Krishna says that actually by reading Vedas, I am to be known. And next 3 verses, he says that you should try to understand that I am Uttama Purusha. I am Purushottama. Once you understand me, then there will be no more suffering for you. Yo mam evam asammodo janati purushottamam sa sarva vidbhashiti mam sarva bhavena bharata. Understand that I am Purushottama, best of the humans, best of the beings in this creation. So that's called Purushottama Yoga, which is 15th chapter. And then comes 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna goes on to speak the qualities of demons and qualities of demons. Because Krishna told about the upside down tree, but he didn't tell about the fruits of the tree. He told about the trunk and the roots and the branches and leaves, but fruits are missing. So he says there are some fruits in this material world, upside down tree. Some are sweet, some are bitter. So the sweet qualities, good qualities are like the demigods. And there are bad qualities of the demons. So he lists a lot of bad qualities and a lot of good qualities. Then he assures Arjuna, Arjuna, don't worry. You are born of a Sampadam Daivim Abhijatosi Pandava. Don't worry, you are born from a good dynasty and you have good qualities. So no need to worry, he says. So he says that those who are demonic people, they go to hell and they suffer. But those who are divine people, they elevate higher and they become happy. Right? So the 2 destinations of the demons are also given here. And then it tells that there are 3 gateways to hell, which is Kama, Krodha, Tatha, Lobha, Tasmat, Etat, Trayam, Tajet. So the 3 things should be given, Kama, Krodha and Lobha. So he says, try to follow the Shastras, then you will be divine. If you don't follow the Shastras, then you will be demoniac. So, and you'll never be happy in this life and in the next life. So, with that, he ends the 16th chapter. So, he says that try to understand what is to be done, what is not to be done, and try to follow the right thing. With that, he ends the 16th chapter. Then, 17th chapter begins by Arjuna's inquiry. I have a question. Okay, there are some people who don't follow Shastra and they follow something of their own very properly. What is their faith? Is in Satoguna, Rajaguna, or Tamoguna? And then Krishna says that actually by seeing the activities what they're doing, you can understand what faith they are in. So some people follow very nicely their concocted religious path without adhering to the path of the uh, recommended in the Shastras. So such people will not be happy. That's demoniac, because that will be troublesome to them and also to me also. So one should not do such kind of activities. And they foolishly torture the body as well as the super soul. So such kind of activities are not recommended. So try to understand what is to be done, what is not to be done. He says. And Krishna goes on to explain that how everything in this world can be categorized into three modes. So food in three modes, austerity in three modes, charity in three modes, tapa, dana, karma, in three modes is explained. And also yajna in three modes is explained. Austerity in three modes. Austerities of the mind also is explained. So body, speech, and mind, three kinds of austerities are explained. So based upon what kind of activities they are doing, you can understand what is their nishtha, what is their faith, what modes they are in. So in this way, Krishna tries to give knowledge to Arjuna that understanding the nature of these three modes, you should try to come to Sattva Guna, be Sattvic. So then comes the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the last chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where the topic of three gunas continues, where Arjuna asks a specific question, what is sannyasa and what is tyaga? Very specific question. So the answer is, sannyasa or renounced order of life is giving up of karma. Sannyasa means give up of karma. And tyaga, renunciation, is giving up the results of the work. So these are the two ways. One is sannyasa and there is tyaga. So tyaga is supposed to be better than sannyasa. So he says there are some work which we should give up and some work we should never give up. Some say we should give up all work, some say we should not give up all work. So these are two paths mentioned here. But Krishna says that at any cost one should never give up work. Yajna, dana, tapa, karma, pavanani, natyajam karyam evatat. Never give up these four activities. Yajna, dana, tapa, karma. Yajno, danam, tapaschaiva, pavanani, manishinam. So these four activities are always purifying to you, he says. So then he continues to explain tyaga in three modes, Sattva-guna, Rajaguna, Tamaguna. Then he explains what is renunciation. Then he explains what are the factors which lead to success. The factors which lead to success are five things. Adhishtanam, tata karta, karanam cha, pratagvidam. Right? There is the place of work. There is a doer. So then there is the time, right? And then there is endeavor, chesta, and ultimately Paramatma. So the place of action, the doer of action, the instruments of action, the senses, and then endeavor, and then there is super soul, the five. So these five factors lead to success. So Jiva's thing is only one, which is to desire. But all other factors are facilitated by Krishna. So it proves that we are the only desirers. Success is not in our hands. Success is in Krishna's hands because so many factors are involved. So 18th chapter mainly focuses on giving up the doership mentality. Don't think that you are the doer. Think that you are just an instrument. You are just a desirer. So then Krishna says that I have created this system of Varnashrama. He comes to Varnashrama. Actually, before that, he explains Jnana in three modes, knowledge in three modes, Karma in three modes, Karta in three modes, Buddhi in three modes, and then determination in 3 modes, happiness in 3 modes, happiness which is like poison in the beginning but nectar in the end, that is goodness. That which is nectar in the beginning and poison in the end, that is passion. And that which is poison in the beginning to end, that is ignorance. So he explains all these things. So then he says that actually nobody can give up doing work, and they are forced to act according to their nature, either as a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, either as uh, Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasa. So they are forced to act according to their Swabhava. It is very difficult to give up Swabhava. And according to that, one should act. Like Brahmana's duties, Brahmana's qualities are also mentioned here. Right? So he is, the 8 qualities of a Brahmana are mentioned here. No? Shamo, Damaha, Tapa, Shaucham, Shanti, Rajam, Yocha, Jnana, Vijnana, Mastikyam, Brahma, Karma, Svabhavajam. So a Brahmana will naturally act in this way. He cannot change his nature. And a Kshatriya, he has his nature. What is that nature? The nature is Shauryam, Tejo, Dhriti, Staksham. He is heroism, he is powerful. He shows his determination, he is resourceful. So, and he gives charity and he has controllership mentality. It's natural for him. He cannot act like a Brahmana. So, Arjuna, you are Kshatriya, don't act like a Brahmana. Do your duty. And there are Vaishyas who are supposed to take care of cows into agriculture and business. And there are Shudras who are supposed to assist others. So, in whatever position you are in, do that activity. So, don't give up. Just fight now, he says. So, then Krishna says, better to do your work faultily rather than doing others' work perfectly. Because in any work, there will be some imperfection, just like when you light fire, smoke will come. Similarly, when you do any work, some imperfection will be there, that's okay. So you're a Kshatriya, doing your duty for fighting, some imperfection will be there, it's all right, but do your duty, he says. So ultimately, is again pushing Arjuna to fight. So then, he says, by working like this, according to your Swabhava, when you keep working, you will become purified of the modes and you'll come to the stage of pure state, which is called as Brahman stage. So the stage of Brahman is also explained here. Brahma bhuta prasannatma nashochati nakangshati samas sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim bhavate param. So he says that you will come to the stage of Brahman. From there you can go to the stage of Bhakti. So only by Bhakti you can understand me. So now comes the last section of Bhagavad Gita, the last few shlokas. It's very interesting, where Krishna concludes his talk by telling that Arjuna, till now I have told everything to you. Okay. So now just try to contemplate on whatever I told till now and try to act very intelligently. Yatha chisi tata kuru. Saram vimrishyetid asheshena yatha chisi tata kuru. I have told all this knowledge to you. Karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, bhakti yoga. And I have told that it's your duty to fight. And not fighting will be sinful for you. Just think about all these things and just do whatever you want, whatever you feel is best. And Arjuna was bewildered. Like, kya karu main? Itna sab kuch bola tumne. He was trying to come to a clarity. And then Arjuna, Krishna thinks that there is no time for all this. No? So if he makes a wrong decision, then so Krishna says, wait. Sarva guhyatamam bhuya shrunume paramam vacha. Ishtho sime dridamiti tato vakshami tehitam. That instruction, which is the best, I'm going to tell you again. Because he had told already 9 chapters. He does. Don't confuse. I'm telling again. Manmanabha madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vishyasi satyam te pratijane priyosime. Just do whatever I say. He says, think of me, surrender to me, become a devotee, offer business to me, you'll surely come to me. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam raja aham tam sarva papebhyo mokshishami masucha. Ultimately, he says, just do whatever I say. But if I fight, I'll get sin. Don't worry, I'll take care. Just fight. So the ultimate conclusion of Gita, which is just do what Krishna wants us to do. If you do this much, then our life is successful. So then Krishna says, no, did you understand? Then Arjuna says, yes, I understood everything. He says, Arjuna says in verse, he says that I have completely understood what you said. There's no nashto moha smriti labdha tot prasada mayachata. Karishya vachanam tava. Whatever you say, I will do. So like that, Arjuna concludes his saying. Then he said, Krishna actually adds on saying that one who teaches this Gita to others, my devotees who have faith in me, they become very dear to me. Right? So it's a very wonderful chance to teach Gita to devotees. Because Krishna says, those who teach will become very dear to me. So in that sense, I'm very fortunate. I'm getting chance again and again to teach Gita. Right? Also, you also can teach Gita to others, not only to devotees, but even to those who are faithful. One should not teach to those who are envious of Krishna, but those who are faithful, you can teach them. So in that way, Krishna says that those become very dear to me. And then last few slokas of Bhagavad Gita spoken by Sanjay. Sanjay says, such an amazing conversation. My hairs are standing on end, Dhritarashtra. Such an amazing conversation. By thinking about the instructions of Krishna, Keshava, Arjuna, Yoga, Punyam, this wonderful discussion, and my hairs are standing on end. I become ecstatic, he says. And then finally, Sanjay concludes the Gita by telling, what does he conclude? I'll open this verse. Let's recite this verse. The last sloka of Bhagavad Gita. Sanjay is concluding, Yatra Yogeshwarah Krishno Yatra Partho Dhanurdaraha Tatra Shrir Vijayo Bhutir Dhruvanitir Matir Mama. Wherever there is Krishna, the best of the yogis, wherever there is Partha, one who is having Gandiva in his hand, there will be surely opulence, victory, and morality. This is my opinion, he says. So with that, Sanjay concludes. And then after this, Arjuna gets full confidence. He says, Chalo, fighting karte hai, Krishna. So then Arjuna starts shooting arrows. First arrow, taking blessings of Bhishma and then Drona. And then after seeing the blessings, then the fight starts. And then everybody is, the whole commotion. For 18 days, the fight begins. And very thrilling to see what happens in those 18 days. So that we'll see next time. So first is Bhishma Parva, first 10 days. And Drona Parva, the next 5 days. And then Karna Parva and Shalya Parva. So the 18 days is covered in this way. And then very, very interesting lessons and many devotional lessons also come in the way, especially Bhishma's episode, and then Abhimanyu's episode. So very wonderful to discuss. So everybody heard Gita at that time, and some could understand, and some could not understand. Only those who are devotees could understand this Bhagavad Gita. And this Bhagavad Gita is the most important part of Mahabharata. So Vyasadeva wrote the entire story of Mahabharata just to give this Gita in between, so that people can understand the essence of all Vedic literatures and surrender to Krishna. So in the Kurukshetra battle, those who were devotees of Krishna, they followed Bhagavad Gita. They surrendered and followed Krishna's instructions. But those are demons. They went against Krishna's will and they were vanquished. Right. So this is what we can see in happening in Mahabharata. So we also should take the side of Krishna, try to understand this Gita. Mahabharata is many stories, is wonderful. But main lesson is Gita. If you don't follow this Gita, then study of Mahabharata is also waste. So my request is try to read this Gita again and again and try to practice it to the best of your ability, and especially chanting of Hare Krishna mantra. Regularly you can try to do, and that will bring you success. So thank you very much. We just summarized the entire Gita in about 1 hour, 15 minutes, I guess, 20 minutes. So thank you very much for giving this chance to revise Bhagavad Gita again. So anybody has any questions regarding today's session?
Yes, Prabhu, one question.
Yes.
How can we surrender to Krishna?
How can we surrender to Krishna? Just like Arjuna surrendered. By following what Krishna tells us to do. So Krishna told Arjuna that you should fight. But for specifically told Arjuna you should fight in a devotional spirit. With Ma Manusmara Yuddhacha, think of Krishna and fight. Similarly, we should also do our duties by thinking about Krishna and doing our duties. And one of the most important things we can do is chanting Hare Krishna. Krishna has given us time. So we can give back some time to Krishna by chanting Hare Krishna, by doing worship of Krishna, by doing service to Krishna, by preaching about Krishna. So these are the symptoms by which we can understand that somebody is surrendered. Okay. So surrender means what? You do what Krishna tells you to do. So if you are doing that, means you are surrendered. But if you do something which Krishna is prohibiting, then that is not surrender. Okay.
Prabhuji, I have one question.
Yes, Aniket.
As you said, Yoginam api sarvesham, and also we know that the supreme yogi, the perfect yogi is Shivji. And like, what is the Leela about Shivji that he is considered as the best Bhakt in the Bhagavatam, and also
Yeah.
he is included in the 12 Mahajans. Like, what is the Leela?
See, there are many pure devotees. Shiva is also one of them. But Shiva is considered to be the best devotee in the material world. Okay. But the topmost devotees of Krishna are the gopis in Vrindavan. So the gopis in Vrindavan are considered to be the topmost. So much so that even Shiva wants to be a gopi. He wants to be part of Rasalila. You know, once Shiva wanted to be part of Rasalila, he changed his body as to a gopi. But snake was still there. Somehow by mistake he didn't get up properly. So snake was still there. So, hey, Shiva is coming here. So the gopis recognize. He say, you don't have entry here, but you can guard. So you guard over Rasalila here. So he became Gopeshwar Mahadev. So even Brahmaji wants to take the dust of the gopis of Vrindavan. So he becomes a mountain in Vrindavan. Uddhava, dear friend of Krishna, he becomes so impressed by the devotion of gopis. He says, I want to be just a creeper so that when gopis are walking in Vrindavan, I can get their dust. So gopis are the topmost devotees of Krishna. But in material world, Lord Shiva is considered to be the topmost. Vaishnavanam yata Shambhu. Right. So it is relative. Okay.
Yes, Prabhu. Prabhu, one more question related to
Yes.
Mahabharat. Like,
Hmm.
we know that the Jara, the hunter, like, can you explain who was he in the past life?
So I have heard that I heard from his Guru Radheshampuru that he was actually some say he was Vali, but actually Radheshampuru said that he was Bhrigu who had offended Vishnu. He was testing who is supreme, then he went and kicked on the chest of Vishnu, and Vishnu very humbly massaged his feet, and Lakshmi became upset. So that past event is connected to. So Lord Vishnu did not take any offense, but Shiva and Brahmaji, when he didn't offer obeisances to Brahma, Brahma became angry. When Shiva went to embrace, he said, "Stop! Don't touch me! You're so dirty. You don't take bath. You have snakes on your body. You have scorpions here and there. So dirty. Don't touch me." Shiva also became angry. But Lord Vishnu, even though he kicked, he was not at all upset. So then he concluded, hey, he is supreme. But Lakshmi became upset. He said, "I'll never be with Brahmanas. So Brahmanas will be poor." Like that, she cursed. So that Bhrigumuni said that he became a hunter, and because he had committed an offense to Lord Vishnu, so he had to atone for it. So here, when this hunter came and he misunderstood Lord Krishna's pinkish lotus feet to be the mouth of a deer, and he shot the arrow, and the arrow pierced Krishna's body. And Krishna's body is transcendental; nothing can happen to Krishna's body. But still, Krishna manifested blood, and then seeing that blood, and Jara came running and saw actually Krishna, and he felt repentant. Oh Lord, I shot arrow at you. Please forgive me. He cried and he repented, and then he got purified of all his offensive mentality, and he also got purified and pure devotee. And then Krishna said, "Don't worry, this is my plan, because now my pastime is about to end. I was just sitting under this tree, and I only made this pastime happen so that I can leave now. So I'm leaving, and I'll use this as a reason to leave. So I'm leaving, and then Krishna ascends back to Godhead. He goes back to Goloka Vrindavan. So this I had heard from his Guru Radheshampuru.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay.
Prabhu, one last question.
Yeah.
Can you just elaborate the incident about how Arjuna was Narayan Rishi, like some in the past life?
Actually, Naranarayan are there in Badrikashram in Bharatavarsha. So they are one actually. Nara Narayana is one personality. So Krishna and Arjuna, and they are always together. So when Nara Narayana come in Krishna Lila, they come as Krishna and Arjuna. So they're always together performing pastimes. So they're doing tapasya. They are very renowned sages. So and they're still there. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jamudiret. In Badrikashram, they're still there. But we don't have access to that place now. So once what happened, Indra got scared of Narayana and he thought, hey, they're planning to take my position as Indra. So he sent Apsaras. He sent Rati and Modana and many Apsaras to allure Narayana. And Narayana saw them. Then they thought, oh, these Apsaras. So then from their body, they created Apsaras. So Narayana, they created Apsaras. And one of the beautiful Apsaras created from the thigh of Lord was Urvashi. So the Urvashi, she was so beautiful that he got attracted. So the Indra was also bewildered that such beautiful Apsaras are created by Narayana. So Indra fell on the ground and begged forgiveness from Narayana because they have misunderstood them to be ordinary sages. And then Narayana forgives them and says, okay, I forgive you, but you can take one of the gift. Choose one of the Apsaras as gift and take. So Narayana were so renounced, they were never attracted to this beauty of this Apsaras. And Indra then picked up Urvashi and he took Urvashi with him. So that's how Urvashi is considered the best of the Apsaras because they created Narayana. And it's also told in Bhagavatam that Rishim Narayanam Rute Kon Akandita Dhipuman. Who is there in this world except Narayana? Who is not attracted by opposite sex? Means what everybody in this world is attracted by opposite sex except Narayana. So they are one of the examples for Dhiras who are never attracted by the illusions of this world. Okay.
Yes, Prabhu. Prabhu, this incident is from which yuga?
I don't know.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Gauri Shetty.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. One doubt.
Yes.
In Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna said that always think of me, always worship me. So I cannot think always of Krishna because suppose I am driving a bike, I cannot think of Krishna because I would otherwise I would met with an accident. Because my brain can think one at a time, only one thought at a time. I cannot think both.
It's a practice. It's a practice. Like initially, driving is also difficult, right? And you have to see where is the brake, where is the clutch. Hey, abhi clutch dabana, abhi brake dabana, abhi gear lagao. So it's a practice. No? Eventually, you may master that. Automatically, you put gear, you put clutch, and then you put the accelerator, and then zoom, clutch, brake, accelerator. You can balance everything very easily. It's an art you learn. Similarly, remembering Krishna and doing one's activity, it's an art. So one can master this art by practice. So initially what we can do is we can try to remember Krishna in the beginning of the activity. Just like we sing Narsimharti before beginning the journey, right? So just like that, when we begin our journey, we can remember the Lord, pray to the Lord. And when we reach the destination, we can pray to the Lord, think of the Lord. And while driving, we can concentrate on the road so that I be safe. That much we can do practically. But pure devotees, they have the art of, like if you're driving a cycle and you're seeing here and there, you say building, oh, this is Krishna's building. Because the elements in this building are made by Krishna. Earth, water, fire, air, and ether are made by Krishna. So he says Krishna everywhere. This car, this is not Ford car. Actually, this is Krishna's car. So all these jivas, they are all actually Krishna's servants. So one develops this vision. Whatever he sees, he can connect it to Krishna. That art of connecting everything to Krishna develops gradually by practice. But initially, we can, in the beginning and the end, remember Krishna.
Okay, Prabhu.
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, so thank you so much. And we'll end our session now. And next Sunday is Gaur Purnima. So appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So most merciful avatar in Kali Yuga. So is Lord Krishna himself as coming in golden form, and he inaugurated the Hare Krishna mantra. So kindly celebrate this festival wherever you are. So you can go to the nearest temple, or you can celebrate at home by worshipping the Gaur Nitai. And generally devotees keep fast also till moonrise, or Lord Chaitanya appeared in moonrise time. And you can do Sankirtan, chant Hare Krishna. So like this you can celebrate this festival. Okay.
Prabhuji, that day even it is we have to even eat Ekadashi prasadam.
Yeah. Generally we eat Ekadashi Prasad. Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much. We'll end here. We'll meet again next Saturday.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Krishna Prabhuji.